Right, this is the smallest machine we ever sold. It's called Aries. It ran an early version of Linux, and it was an email server. So this was programmed to go out to our generalized email account, collect all the email, and then forward it to Windows PCs. Nightmare. This is one of the greatest gifts I ever gave my customers, except they can't open the box, which is embarrassing. Right, let's go to the bottom. Here we have, look at this, silver engraved with a laser printer. And then inside, here are beer mats, which make fantastic handouts of all old circuit boards, which is just what the Computing Museum is going to be serving soon. Right, this is a delightful story. This is an RPO3 as sold by DEC in about 1973-74. It's a 40 megabyte disk. The younger brother was called an RPRO2, and that was 20 megabytes. The bigger brother, the RPO4, was many years later. This particular disk drive was sold to Qantas in Australia for their 747-200 flight simulator. After Qantas had finished, when they moved to the 747-400, they sold the entire flight simulator to Virgin. Needless to say, it flew from Australia to Gatwick quite happily. On arrival in Gatwick, they found it was missing a cable. They contacted Digital UK, and they had no idea what the cables were, but they said, the one man who has the manuals will be Peter Dick. And that was in the year roughly 1995 to 1998. So I gave Virgin in the UK the manual, and they had the cables made up. Fast forward another 5 or 10 years, and Virgin also had finished with the flight simulator. And they, as a sense of humour, then presented me the disk drive with their compliments. And I've been storing it ever since. So there we have it. This fine beast is the best part of 45 years old. Hi, this is 35mm tape. Actually, it's 35mm film that was still used in the cinema until recently, coated in oxide. And what happened was, using these sprocket holes that you had on the film, the tape drive would, from stationary, accelerate, taking half a block gap, read the data, and then slow down again. So you basically, for every data block, you lost half a block before speeding up, half a block as it slowed down. When you got to the end of this wonderful material, the tape drive reversed itself, and what had been the inter-block gap, or in this case, tape gap, became data, and what had been data was the inter-block gap. And just so you can understand the difference, this stuff is from the middle 1965, and this particular tape example is actually dated the 20th of June 66, and it came from the East Surrey Water Board, and they had it for their names and addresses of customers. In comparison, or contrast, or perhaps better word, this is a DLT, digital linear tape. This is still available today. You can get these with 10 or 12 gigabytes on it, and the big difference is this one streams along, writing a series of dots and dashes, gets to the end, drops down a fraction of an inch and goes back the other way, gets to the start, drops down a fraction of an inch and goes back the other way. So it's like a serpentine. And this is a bit like the difference between, in tape drive technology, SCSI, which had loads of data terminals, and the later one, SATA, where the S of SATA stands for serial. Finally, I'd just like to tell you about how things were. When I first worked on a PDP-11 in the year 1974, January 74, this RKO5 has one platter on the inside. They were removable tape drives. Now you'll have to cut it. And this cut thing holds 2.4 megabytes. I repeat, megabytes. 1,000th of a gigabyte. 1,000,000th of a terabyte. We used to have all our programs, and here's my listings from 11th of July 1974. There's the program called HLO5A, occupied 19 disk blocks. Each disk block was 512 characters. This lasted for several years, about 3 years, before it was in turn replaced with this wonderful cartridge where you slide the lever, and there we have again the disc inside, a removable cartridge, but the capacity had gone up from 2.4 megabytes to 10 megabytes. This particular device is famous because it was given away with every VAX computer from 1978 onwards, so that the engineers could have their diagnostics on it. And then we can rapidly go through. A few years later we had these. These were 80 megabytes unformatted, 67 megabytes formatted, used on the RMO2s. Then some of the more impressive packs. This wonderful beast went on a thing called an RPRO2 from 1976. This is a 20 megabyte platter. The extra R, by the way, stands for refurbished removable disk packs. And my final one here, if I've got the muscle to lift it up. Oh, I haven't. A pity. Okay, folks, just pause. This huge thing, this is off an RMO3 or RMO4. I think this is the RMO4, 88 megs or 176, depending on whether the jumper was done. DEC used to charge about £5,000 to move the jumper and double the capacity. Once the customers knew, they did it themselves. And there we have it, disk packs through the ages. So this is an 1144 system that we used in-house for software development. The big change from the 1140 is, of course, that the 1144 processor is now housed in just 1/3 of an H9642 cabinet, standard cabinets. So this is the processor and memory. Used to boot off the RLO2, that's the 10.4 megabyte disk drive, disk pack I should say. Over here we had another RLO2 so that we could copy from one disk to the other. And then this machine has 2 tape drives. This is the Cypher F880, only worked at 800 or 1600 BPI. You posted the tape through the hole. And this beast here, this is the Cypher M990. This is the superset of that one. It does 800, 1600 or 6250. Finally on top we have the control data's version of the digital RMO2, RMO3. It's a top loader, and this is the one that's a 67 megabytes.